And how I met Jennifer was I was incarcerated at Mountain View with her. I was there for 5.5 years. And I knew her from, it's a small unit, but then we worked together because she was our amazing librarian, and I went to work in the education building and drove her crazy for the remainder of my time there.
So Wynndi, you have to tell, okay, let's have a scenario. So let's say it's Friday morning and I've walked into the door with a handful of books and you've come around the corner from your classroom. What would you say to me?
Good morning. How are you? I have been waiting for you to get here. I have so much to tell you from yesterday.
And this is my response. Wynndi, I love you, honey. And I've told you before that don't come into the library until about 8 o'clock. It's super early, and and I'm really grouchy when I walk in the door. This never deterred her.
And I would say, okay, listen, let me just tell you one thing, so you have something to think about, and then I'm going to quietly go away, but I just wanted to come and greet you, to have a good day.
Yeah.
How did you turn down this face?
It was not easy.
But you did.
I did. Good morning, JT. Like, oh, it's super early, Wynndi Caldwell. And I just got to tell you one thing, and now I'm going to get out your hair.
I'm having a moral dilemma, and I need for you to be my compass. Yes. So please tell me if I'm doing something that's really bad or not.
Yes. And you know what? What would I tell you? I'd say, I want to talk to you about this. Just please give me until 8 o'clock. Then we can fold tissue. And this was my way to kind of.
So I can get my coffee out of the drawer and have my hot bottle of water and then come back.
Yeah. So if any of the people that used to supervise us ever see this, let me confirm something for you. We were drinking coffee. We were eating pastries. We were eating burritos. We were trading stamps. We were passing messages out the window. We were doing all the things.
We were not.
Now, when it comes to the coffee, Wynndi,
I might have drank the coffee. I could have passed some stamps to somebody who needed some coffee. But every time I did something wrong, I got busted, man.
Big time. You did.
I did always. I'm not a good criminal, obviously.
Right? Me either. All of my stuff was very sudden and random. So I'm in the same boat with you. So Wynndi, tell us a little bit about what is the work that you're doing now that since you've been home?
Well, I've been home 3 years in December coming up. So I'm going on 3 years home. And I got out, I went to New Beginnings and in Abilene. I didn't really have a safe place to go. And then when I got home, I did, but I went there anyway because I was like, it wasn't, even though I was sick and tired of living with a bunch of women, I felt like I needed a community of people to kind of, a foundation, help me get my foundation going. So anyway, I went there and I started working. I went to work right away in a florist and then another florist, which led me to the job that I have now. I work for a company. We are a landscape company. We do outdoor living. So we design and install anything that you can imagine for your outdoor living space. So landscaping, pools, amazing, beautiful things. Anyway, I do retail. I'm the retail purchaser. We have 3 locations. So I do it for all 3 locations. Then I'm the greenhouse manager. I've had the opportunity, which is amazing and my favorite part of work, to turn around and help other women like us to get jobs. I've hired people right out of rehab. I've hired people right out of prison. I have a girl working for me now that she did also 5 years, and she's amazing and wonderful. And I prayed for a long time for God to give me just the right person. And I went through some not right people to get to her, but I did. So that's what I do. But my favorite part of, I do customer service. I talk on the phone all day long and problem solve and help people. But and I do sales. And but my favorite part probably, I love working with people. Obviously, I love to talk, and that's pretty much what I get paid to do. But one of my favorite things is that I've been blessed with a position to be able to. My word this year was elevate.
That's right.
So to elevate myself, but not just that, but my circle and other people behind me. So that's my work. That's what I do.
That's really amazing, Wynndi, because this is so like intricately linked to, your job when I knew you at Mountain View, right? Because you were the landscape aide, and I'm not saying the teacher wasn't good, but you did a lot of teaching and a lot of guiding and coaching the students that was just amazing. So it's really exciting to see you carry that, and you love those plants. Look, you'll be real proud. My friend Katie gave this to me. Look.
Oh, it's real?
It's real. Wait, I haven't watered it. I haven't watered it this week. How much water do these little bamboo plants need?
They need to always have water.
Always.
How many times a day do you need a drink?
Well, I don't drink a lot of water. I drink a pot of coffee, so I don't really know how much water I need.
What if you had to go without your coffee for 3 days?
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Because this is very important to me, because when I got here, my friend Katie, she gave me this as a housewarming gift. So it's still alive. Wynndi, look.
Love it. Green. I'm super proud. I'm super proud of you.
I like very contained small plants.
Yes, I do know that.
And I left the library with what? Lots of plants. Lots of
I don't know, because I left first.
Honey, let me tell you, I hung an ivy by the window. I did.
I don't believe it.
Over there where the air conditioner was, and there was a hook in the ceiling, I hung an ivy there. Then I hung another
Who
plant.
watered it?
I did. But you told me not to water ivies very often, so I only watered it once a week.
Did it live?
It lived. It was growing all the little vines, and then I had a plant over there in front of my boss's office, and then I had one hanging where that other bulletin board where Miss Dickey's office was. I did. I left the library full of plants.
Wow.
It was.
See, you were just being defiant when I was there.
Well, a little bit. I don't.
Not very nice.
I don't like women telling me what to do all the time.
It was a suggestion.
Women suggest all the time, usually in a command. So I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of your work, and I'm really proud of your journey. I really am. And
thank you.
Now the pictures that are on your Facebook page of like all the greenery and the pools and that's your
work.
Wow.
I know.
It's really nice.
Thank you. I think that we do a very amazing things. And let me tell you what else is cool about the company that I work for. So when most of my life I've never wanted to work for corporate America because I want to know I'm a hard worker, and I know it. And I know when I come to work for you, I'm going to care about your company as if it were my own. And I'm just not sure the owner of Walmart cares much about that. But if I'm going to work hard and I pour my heart into something, I want to know the people that I'm working for and how they live their life. Do they, and if I'm going to help you, I want them to have a good life. And the people that I work for are amazing, and I love them so much. but they have a reason of why they do what we do. We don't just build pools, you know, we don't just put a hole in the ground, but it's why we do it. We do it to give people a place to spend time with their families and make memories, a backdrop to the story of your life. And, you know, if we mow your grass, if we mow somebody's grass for them on a Saturday morning, then what are they going to be doing? They're going to be enjoying their life.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, wow, I can sell that. I can get behind that, because it's not just that service. It's why we do the service. So there's a reason. And who can't get behind that? I love it. I love my people. I have a work family that's amazing. And some of them are like you. I would go in every day and consistently tell them good morning, and they would roll their eyes and sigh. But now they love me. I've been gone from my office for almost 3 weeks. I've been working in Aledo, and they miss me, and that's good. I mean, I didn't think I figured some people would be thankful, but like, I don't have to listen to that all day, because we know I'm loud. I know.
But you're infectious, Wynndi, and you know, talking about Mountain View and just how hard it is to get through time, and you know, when I talk about community and how important my friends were to me in prison, and sometimes people ask me, God, is there anything that like you would ever miss about prison? And they say it jokingly, and I'm like, no, actually I miss my friends, and I miss the people that became family to me. And so when I was released, me and Diane had each other, and I was like, you know, Diane, I wish that we could lift out that library that we all worked in, and just set it out here, and just have this place that we could all come to. And so that's why I do my videos. That's why, you know, I harass all of y'all on social media all the time, no matter how busy I get at work, because, you know, you were just so instrumental in me getting through some really dark, hard days. You know, doing time is not easy, and you are an infectious, bubbly, sparkly, wonderful human being, and my life is so much better knowing you. So, you know, maybe some of us aren't morning people, but damn it, you make us. And you told me, I'm going to make you.
And we're going to fix that.
Still not a great morning person, but there's no way that you can be mad when that face comes around the corner and is just so excited about the day. It's like, oh, me too. Like, you kind of resign and like,
Hey, but you know what? You helped me a lot too. I went through some terrible stuff with, you know, family things and ex-husband things and struggles, and I don't know, but you helped me a whole lot to have confidence and to kind of find myself again. I mean, I was on the journey anyway, but you know, it could have gone, I was vulnerable, and you could have given me probably bad advice, but you didn't, and you were my voice of reason, and sometimes my moral compass. That's true. So you know, it goes both ways. That's what friendship is, right?
Right. Speaking of husband, is there anything that you would like to share?
I'm getting married.
Put it up close, baby. Put it real close so we can see. Look at that.
I need to, can you put the blingy thing on so everything sparkles all around?
So, you know, yes, all of our friends that are seeing this are going to want a little bit of detail. You know how women are.
Okay, so I'm getting married. I'm going to have a wedding. I'm so excited. I've never had one, and a honeymoon too. The guy that I'm marrying was my neighbor when we were 6 years old, and this is how I met him. So I was jumping on my trampoline, and they were moving in next door, and I'm just jumping on the trampoline and whatever, and I hear this little boy singing, and he's singing, "Hey, he good looking, what you got cooking?" And I'm like, and I see him hiding over there. And so I got down off the trampoline, and I went over, and we talked through the fence, and I had a swimming pool, above ground pool, and I had the little ladder that goes, and we took the ladder out of the pool and put it over the fence, and we left it until they moved away. And so I became best friends with his sister. And anyway, we grew up together, and then he moved away. And then, we had our lives and did the do. And when I got home, I came across a picture of us when we were 4th or 5th grade. He took me to homecoming. And I saw him on Facebook, and I sent him that picture just to say, look how cute we were. And that's it.
That's it.
And here we are, 2.5 years later, getting married. It's pretty great. He told me the other day, we had a conversation, and he said that he's happy, and that, he's got his person finally. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, I'm someone's person. Yeah. It's good to feel important.
It is. And I was talking to Alexa, because I talk to her every day too. And we were talking about, just how much, life is so short, and everything that we've, those of us that have experienced incarceration, we've been through, not just while we were there, but the things that led us there, and bad relationships and toxicity and substance abuse and all these things that we feel, sometimes I think we feel like we can never overcome. And to just see you have a healthy relationship and know that you deserve that, that's huge, Wynndi. Like, that's huge. Like, when you talk about those times that we would sit and we both talk about relationships too, right? Like, just getting to that place of, I deserve happiness, and I deserve healthy relationships, and they're possible. That's living proof of it. So, I wanted you to share that with everybody, just because girls like to see rings and they like to celebrate each other's, engagement stuff, but just to hear about a healthy relationship, it's possible. Like, there were times that I was like,
I even got the little tiny engagement. He bought me that too.
Gosh, that's cool. I wish I had a charm bracelet for a little.
Would you wear a charm bracelet?
I love them. Special anybody.
Yeah.
So this gives me hope, though, right? Even though my special person may look a little different, but
or maybe not. She could be a morning person too. I don't know. I'll tell you what. So I like something that you just said about, you were talking about, prison, dysfunctional, whatever, all that stuff. I was talking to my coworker today, and she said, most of my people know, because I just feel like it's a healthy thing for people to know where he came from. And I mean, I have a coworker right now that's really super depressed, and we could all, it's all contagious, positivity, negativity, whatever. But anyway, this other girl was talking to me, and she was asking me just kind of about prison. She was like, I mean, it's amazing to see that you're happy and all that. And I said, I tell people this, and this is so true for me, maybe not everyone, but prison was not the worst place I've been. It's not easy to get there. It's really not. People don't just walk in, the gates ain't open either way. So the life I lived to get there was so much worse than the life I lived while I was there. So, and I'm grateful. And I'll tell you what, when I got there, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to, Mr. Miller teasing me used to always say, I said, I'm going to make my first parole. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a car. It ain't going to take me long at all. I'm going to have a job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he was like, no, probably not. You're not going to make your first parole. Nobody does. And you're not going to do this. I'll be like, oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. The more that I say, I had lists of positive things. You probably remember on the side of my computer, yes, that I would read out loud to myself every day before the girls would come into class real quick to build myself up. And I would just say all these things. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. It's all happened. It's all happening. I didn't think it would, but every milestone, every time something happens that was on that list, or something that I said, this is how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go home and have it bad, because you know what? It's bad here. And it was bad before here. I can have the bad time behind me if I make my mind up to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, not to say everything's going to be, unicorns and rainbows, but
right.
I think I just said it enough damn times that it's just come, and every time there's a milestone, I recognize it, and I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm glad that you said that. And one of my friends, Malinka, hey Malinka, she wanted to know who you were. This is Wynndi. I did time with her, and she was a very dear friend, and a sounding board, and just a great human being. And she's sharing with us her journey. But I'm really glad that you said that, because I talked to my friend Sean on a video Sunday, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. He's really amazing. You saw
the
it?
Picture, but I didn't know. I saw the picture today. But can I not watch it? Can I go back and watch it?
Yeah, it's posted on my YouTube channel.
Okay. I'm gonna watch it.
So he was the guy in the Pure Education video that they forced us to watch all the time, and and he's talking about don't accept gifts and what have you. And so I had him on, and we were talking, and towards the end of our conversation, we were talking about our struggles and what we went through. But he's kind of speaking to the same thing that you're saying, and what I've always said is that there is something about speaking things out loud, and there is something about that dogged, laser focused faith. It's people call it the power of positive thinking. Other people are, it's faith. Whatever way you defined it, it's that I believe, like I am making this choice to believe, and not just believe or be wishful or hopeful in that thought, but to truly believe it and walk it as if it were already there. And
yes.
Even in those moments of, and Sean talked about how he was, stocking shelves at Dollar Tree, and here's this bright, intelligent, good-looking, amazing guy that's done almost 30 years, and he's barely making minimum wage, and just feeling like, oh man, are you serious? Like, he broke down a little bit when he was telling it to me, and I said, I know, I was there, emptying out that trash at Goodwill, and just feeling like, are you serious? Like, all that preparation and believing, and you get to this pivotal moment of, I'm going to choose to continue to believe, and I'm going to take some leaps of faith. And I know there's lots of obstacles, whether they be our own obstacles, systematic obstacles, the ills of society. Those things all need to be addressed, and we're working really hard on those. But there is this inner resolve that happens, and I believe it's faith, it's spiritual, it's of God, to just walk that out. And there is something very powerful about that. And
yes. And sometimes it's daily, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it comes natural, and you get up and things are flowing and good. And then there's times I just, the other day on the way to work, I was driving here to Aledo. I had to get up super early, and so I had to drive a couple of hours to get here, to be here by, and I was telling my guy, I said, I don't know if you have to do this or not, but sometimes I got to listen to something positive. I got to dig around, and I got to pump myself up to go do this deal today. Even though I'm happy, I love my job and my people. I have a great opportunity here. There's nothing bad, but sometimes, man, it's tough. Mm-hmm. It's tough sometimes, even when things are good, to keep doing the deal. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, of course I'm going to keep doing it, but I can either do it with a sour attitude of like, okay, I got to do it again, or I can go like, you know what? I get to do it again. I can mm-hmm. do this today. And then, I forget about it in a minute, but all week, this week, I'm not home. And so I've got a little extra time in my room, and I've listened to some very positive messages and things in the mornings. And man, I get excited. I'll reach out to people that I know are not excited about life right now. And, mm-hmm. and I just try to be like, hey, I just want to tell you good morning. I was thinking about you today. Have a great day. Look in the mirror and say, hey, it's going to be a good day. And if you do it and you believe it, you'll have a good day. But if you mope around in your house shoes for a couple hours and say, rah, 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 well, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get back.
Right. I remember when I was in jail, and Gina, You know, she would come to the jail probably twice a week, which was a lot. And I still appreciate everything that she did for me. I'll get emotional right now. But so I remember that I was really, Wynndi, it was terrible. Like I had starved myself for 2 months trying to kill myself. I was in a very, 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 very dark place. And so she would come and we had video visitation and she would come and just sit there and hold the phone and I would just weep. I would just cry. I would just put my face down and cry for 30 minutes watching the timer. And I'd be like, okay, time's up. Bye. And that's it for like a good two or 3 months. And so, you know, things had I got a little bit more stable. And I remember telling her, you know, she'd be like, okay, I sent you some money and maybe you can get you some M&Ms. And so she's trying to encourage me. And I said, what does it matter? What does it matter? I'm going to prison. And I'm going to do that probably a whole 12-year sentence. And I'm just, there I go crying again. And she said, Jennifer, let me tell you something. And I need to be real honest with you right now. Whether you eat those M&Ms with joy or whether you eat them miserable, that door is not opening. It's not going to open. So you make your mind up of how you want to enjoy your day and enjoy who you are, where you're at, because that's up to you. And, you know, at the time I was like, you know, I'm just dead. You know, but when I went to my cell later on, I was like, you know, there was a part of me that felt like if I allowed myself to be happy, then it was true. I really was trapped in that. I don't know, in my mind, if I really just allowed myself to be happy and at peace, then I accept this situation. Well, Jennifer, you don't have a choice. The situation is what it is. You know, whether you choose to accept it or not. But just knowing that I had the freedom to be able to be happy that day if I chose to be, I never forgot that. And I kept that in my mind over the years. And, you know, not that I'm a big fan of Safe P, Wynndi. I'm not. There's a lot of stuff wrong with that program. But
well,
what I learned in cognitive intervention, which was liberating, it sounds very simple to some people watching this, is that guess what? You get to choose your own thoughts. And I'm like, what?
mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Like, it's not a runaway train and I'm just being drug along with
following it.
Yeah. You get to choose that thought. And that thought usually has a feeling attached to it. And it was such a liberating thing for me to discover that if I want to change
that,
the way
you told me that.
Yeah. But you know, intellectually,
to yourself.
Exactly. Like intellectually, you can know something, but until you like really know it and live it, then it's just kind of still, you know, like people will say, well, knowledge is power. Well, I mean, not really. It's the implementation of the knowledge is where the power's at. So,
right.
You know, I love that about you because I totally agree with you. It's a matter of that laser-like focus and just believing in having this unshakable faith that somehow, some way, you know, all things are possible. Truly. So I'm glad that you shared that. I get real, me and Sean start talking. I'm like, yes, power of faith and belief. And it's not even necessarily willpower. It's faith, right? Because it's believing.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
If it were just willpower, anybody could do it.
Exactly.
Anybody could do it. I'm going to tell you, you talking about all that made me think of, I don't know if I shared this story with you before, but so when I was at Mountain View, you know, I went to rec one night with you, Lee, and the way that the rec yard is set up, Mountain View, for those of you who don't know or haven't been there, it's hilly there. You know, it's up and down. It's actually it's actually for prison. It's a beautiful campus. It is. I mean, it is. It is no Lane Murray or Hobby. It's not. And I felt blessed if I had to have something to look at. I remember getting there and there was trees. I was like, oh, yeah, thank you, Lord. But I was at rec one night and it was count time. I was with you, Lee, and the sun was just going down, and I was always like, oh my God, look at this, it's so beautiful. And people were like, ugh, and that's okay. But we were sitting there, and the lights were coming on under the walkways and at the doors. And as it started to get dark and the lights all came on, I was like, wow, I wonder if we could. This reminds me of when I was a little girl and you'd be outside riding your bicycle and the street lights would come on. I'm like, wonder if we could just pretend this is our neighborhood for now. Like, what if we just looked at this is our neighborhood for right now, and look at it that way? It's got streets and lights and windows and doors and buildings, and, let's just do that. And I told Yulia, I said, wow, I just had this thought. What if we just did this? And she was like, okay.
Right.
I love you, friend. Well, I didn't really think about it too much after that, but I really did at night when the lights would start to go down and the sun would go down, the lights would come out, I'd be like looking around like, that's not so bad. And I said to myself, that big hill that goes out towards Hamilton, I said to myself, when I get out, I'm going to go in my car. As soon as I get a car, I'm driving to Gatesville. I'm going to drive up that hill, and I'm going to come over that hill, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to see what that prison looks like from the other side. I drove to Gatesville. I didn't tell anybody I was going. Took a trip, no air conditioner. Took a trip down there. I didn't care. I did not care. I drove down there, and I passed the prison, and I went real slow. And then I went up the big hill, and I went down there, and I turned around, and I came back. And as I came over the hill and I looked, I pulled up in this, like, I guess it was an entrance to a dirt road, but I could get the best perspective of the prison from there. And I was back there by the rec yard, by H-Storm. And I stopped there, and I could see all the crappy windows in the top of the gym and all the weeds around the, it's just like, I was like, yuck. And that story came to my mind. And I was like, how did I ever, from inside that place, see that as a neighborhood?
Yeah.
And I was like, see, so it wasn't me. I mean, it's more than that. It's something else. For me, it's God, it's the Holy Spirit, it's favor, and it's, if I didn't have that, who would have shown me that? Who has the kindness and grace and compassion to let you have those things come to mind in a place like that?
Yeah.
And so, so I don't know. That's the only thing I can explain, because I was like, wow, that does not look like a neighborhood that anybody want to live in.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. It's like, who else can give you that perspective? Who else can give you that in a place like that? And I had a friend ask me one time, like, a lot of programming wasn't available to you, and when I talk to you, I hear a lot of insight and a lot of hard lessons learned and wisdom. Like, how did you get that? Like, and I said, from God. Like, there is no other way, because it didn't come from Jennifer, because Jennifer's best thinking got her there. And so it can only be revealed, those types of things, through the Spirit, at least in my experience and your experience. I totally agree with you.
And if you're seeking, I mean, I'm not saying that sometimes there's not some thunder strike, but because it happens too, but mostly you got to be seeking that thing, and then it's reliably there. So anyway.
Yeah. So let's, I would love for you to share a little bit about the girls that you still keep in touch with, because I keep in touch with somebody at each of the women's units, because I need some intel, but because I love them, and I want to keep up with what's going on where they're at, so I can, keep an eye on their conditions. And so I was just wondering if you'd like to share with anybody, because a lot of the women that you probably talk to, we all know. And maybe
well, I do talk to Becky Cleveland at Mountain View still, and of course I keep up with a few people through her, Tashi and Juliana. And Juliana was very convinced this year that she was going to go home and she didn't. And unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but she has a lot more peace right now. She left Braille and went to the kitchen and went back to Braille. But she was okay with it. She needed a break. You know, Miss Billman is Miss Billman, and people needed a break. You know, you got to have change sometimes. So Becky's doing good. She struggled there for a little while too, but she's doing good. You know, they all have the same thing to say, is that it's not the same there, that things are very different than they used to be. That it's just, you know, it's terrible. They have which I know back in the day, they had like an old lady dorm or whatever. That, you know, only because I heard them ladies talk about it who'd been there for a long time. They have that again, and it's in an A1. I know, I know.
So did they put them in there with, you know, because A dorm was the
G3.
G3. Are the G3 still in A1?
They are.
Girl, what was the in between medium custody and population? You know, the ones that had to stay in A dorm for 10 years.
G3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I lived there for 2 years when I got there.
So I don't know why. Put the older ladies in there with them?
They put the older ladies are in A1. And then the rest of it is still the G3s or whatever. And is it G3, G5? I don't know, but anyway.
No, G5's close custody.
Okay,
G4 is medium.
G3.
It has to be
so
G3.
50 plus year, yes, because it's 50 plus years and you haven't done your first 10 yet. Right. So they're still over there, I think. But then they have, you know, the Strive is in, the F dorm is still trustees and faith-based, and then G1 is the Strive dorm. And so that's kind of how they have them all situated. But it's just that, it's just not, I think it's just not the same. You know, they said things are, they don't run as smooth as they used to. They don't. And of course, well, even when we were there, people didn't have to have a terribly long sentence to go there, but a lot of people are coming and going, and that's hard. That's hard when you have, you know, like the girls that I have there, they still have a long way to go. Yeah. Some of them, you know, have maybe the rest of their life. I hope not, but it's a possibility. And so it's hard to see people come and go, but from what all of them are mentally in a better place than they were for a while. You know, you got ups and downs, and sometimes those downs last a while. But they're all doing much better. But I just heard that it's changed a lot.
Yeah, you know, that's what I heard too, is when they start, even before COVID, they were moving out able-bodied, you know, people that they said could withstand the heat better. And they were shipping them off to switching them out with people at Hobby and Lane Murray, which are very different cultures. And this is really hard for people to understand. And I remember one time a lady with the college told Miss Roebuck, I don't understand. Why can't we put all of college at Lane Murray and just move them all there? And she said, the girls from this, and remember, I don't know if you were there yet, but we had all signed up for college and didn't know this was about to happen. And Miss Roebuck,
and everybody withdrew.
Miss Roebuck found out that it was fixing to happen, and she called every person out and said, look, this is fixing to happen. I'm really not supposed to tell y'all, but I think it's wrong, and you should know. Do you want to go to Lane Murray or not? And I mean, of course, we all refused. And the college woman was pissed off. She said, I don't understand. A prison is a prison. And she said, no, ma'am, it is not. She said, Mountain View is unique in the sense that it's a well-run machine. The girls have a very routine life here. It's very, like you said, campus-like. You still had Remember when
It was still prison.
Yeah, she got her face sliced open. But I mean, in terms of long-term, sentences, people work in Braille, we worked in education, and this was our life. And this is what we had to survive and to give us meaning. And, screw college, screw anything else. This is where I live and breathe. And this is what gets me through my time. And
my neighborhood.
And so she was like, no, ma'am, every prison is not the same. And I'm not going to spring this on them. And they should have a right to that. So when you take, every unit has its own culture, and you switch these women out that had lived at Mountain View for years with Hobby and Lane Murray, well, they're used to operating in their individual cultures. So it's been very difficult. And
even, a lot of the people that they moved off, they didn't, Braille didn't, nothing mattered. If you had a job at Braille, that didn't even matter. A lot of those people are gone too. They just, because for a long time, people are like, well, I'm going to go get a job in Braille, because if anything ever happens, we're safe here. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. It's not true.
Right. And, I tell some of the men that have done a lot of time, and we're in our little advocacy spaces, I always like to take an opportunity to explain the differences between like our experiences versus there, which they're a lot alike, but in many ways they're very, very different. And the men, typically, if they want something, they'll go on a hunger strike. They don't care if they get shot off the unit or moved here. They're like, whatever. The women are different. We make communities and we make strong bonds in a way that it's different than men. So in terms of I'm getting moved, it is so stressful and so full of anxiety, being ripped away from people, your job. It's just, men can do that a lot easier than we could, because I think that was the main stressor on day to day with us, was getting moved out of a dorm that you're comfortable and safe in to another place or to another unit. So, I mean, this
trying to get to a place where you would be safe.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, remember, I had a crazy neighbor there at the end who was not, I didn't think I was going to make it home.
Yeah. And then, of course, because Mountain View for a long time was women with a lot of time or women with mental health problems. And so then they don't get any type of effective treatment, to actually be able to help them or put them in a safe space. And so everybody ends up suffering the consequences of them not getting treatment or getting the adequate attention. And it's been hard for the girls at Mountain View and everybody. I mean, nobody wants to be incarcerated in the first place, but they're our friends, and their pain and suffering is something I live with daily. And I try to, my friend Katie's always like, Jennifer, you have to do self-care. You cannot just continue to empty yourself out and not take moments and times or set boundaries, because Wynndi, Lord have mercy, sometimes they call me all day long. They call me all weekend, and I have to tell them, look, I'm at work. I can't. Well, do you know how long it took me to get to the phone? And I'm like, actually, yes, I do. Now that the phone calls are cheaper, and you do have a different unit culture that in the past at Mountain View, it'd be like, oh, you're next. Okay, hold on. I'm good. Well, a lot of times now with girls from different places, they're like, I don't give a, I'm going to use the phone all night. What are you going to do?
Back to back to back to back to back.
And a lot of the girls that we were with at Mountain View, that wasn't how we interacted with each other. So this has been really hard for them. Like, kind of like, welcome to real prison. Not to say Mountain View wasn't real prison, but it just was very, very different. And, but honey, they'll call me and it's really difficult when you have people you care about calling all the time, crying, or I'm scared, or this officer did this thing, or COVID, this lady's got COVID next to me and she's, they took her out in an ambulance twice. Jennifer, it's a lot. It really is. I do my part, and I think we all try to do our part, but it can be very overwhelming. And
well, thank you that you do what you do, though. I mean,
well, and I
feel like if everybody did just a little, you know, I mean, a lot of people come and go. If everybody did just a little,
Right.
because I can't do a lot. I mean, I said, you know, some of the ladies that I was there with, one in particular, you know, she kept telling me, and she's my good, I loved her. I do love her. She was my good friend, but she kept saying, now you write me at least once a week or once I said, let me tell you something. That's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now, I'm going home to put this behind me and move on. I'm not saying I'm not going to talk to anybody here or that I'm not going to help or that I'm going to forget, but I'm not going home to still live here. I'm going home to live the rest of my life better because I lived a whole bunch of bad years. Mm-hmm. And I'm not doing it. And so I love you, but I'm not doing it. Well, I wrote her a few times, and then I didn't write for a little while, and she wrote me, and I took a while to write her back, and she wrote me a very ugly letter. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm not writing back. Yeah. I done told you, I'm sorry, but that is not, you can't, you just can't expect to draw anyone that way. Fear or intimidation is not going to get it.
Right, or guilt or shame.
And I was like, no. And I'm sad for her, but I feel like the people that I know and love that were good to me and that poured into me when I was there are the people that I help. And if everybody just did that, because we all have our people, and they're right. Not all the same people. If we all just helped our people, right. We'd all be helping a little bit. Go a lot further.
And doing what we can, and like my friend said, to make sure that I fill my cup up and not, empty myself out to the point of exhaustion, because I don't want to get frustrated with them. I don't want to get upset with them. But there is a there is a point of you have to draw boundaries, and sometimes, it can be hard when, because I've had a couple of friends say, well, Dan, I can't ever get you on the phone. And golly, look at you. You finally answered. And I'm like, look, I don't know if this is some type of passive aggressive way of saying you hurt my feelings, which it probably is. But when you do that, it hurts my feelings. It frustrates me because I'm doing above and beyond what most people do because I love you. And this is the best that I can do. And I need you to recognize that. And sometimes, and two, there's lots of people that we lived with that don't respect boundaries. And sometimes enough is just never enough. So, just being able, like you said, if everybody could just do a little bit, that would go a long ways. So I have to set real clear boundaries with them, and they've gotten it, especially since I got a new job. And I spend a lot of my time, being a voice for them just in advocacy circles like this session, Wynndi. Now I should throw this out here and just think about it, and you can decide if you'd like to or not, but I'm going to post it on my Facebook page, how everybody can get involved. There's an interim charge with the legislators, and it's, so they post things that they're interested in and they want public comment on. And normally you would go to the Capitol and you would do public testimony and, whatever the topic is, but we're doing everything online, and who knows what the session is going to look like. And one of the charges right now is, why is correctional health care so high? Why is it kind of like skyrocketing? And the answer to that is that people have large sentences and they're staying in prison longer, and they get denied parole 8 or 10 times with the same reason back to back to back. So this is a good way for us to kind of start talking about parole reform. So I can share the information with everybody and with you, and you just write your personal letter, and you send it. It's got the instructions of how to email it. For instance, mine is going to be, well, it's skyrocketing because people like me I got set off 8 times for the same reason that I could never change. And I also developed hypothyroidism, some mental health stuff, and all those things had to be treated. So just the longer I stayed there, the more medical cost that you had to spend on me. And I don't have near the medical conditions that most of the women that we were locked up with developed, especially the older ladies. So these are small ways that we can have our voice heard in the process that counts the most, which is legislators and bills. And yeah, so, you know, that's what I do a lot of my time. And the girls don't understand that. No, they want me to call the warden about officer so-and-so is mean to them. And I don't mind doing that, but I'm like, honey, I'm trying to go a little deeper, but you know, if I have time, I will call. And but I do keep track of the conditions and report those, because I'm sorry if Hobby is consistently talking about overflowing sewage and HB pylori, and you know, they consistently, people that don't even know each other tell me that, and that's something we've heard from Hobby for years, then you know, there's a problem there. So
right.
Well, I'm glad that you still talk to people there. That makes me happy. And you still talk to me and Diane?
I do. I went through earlier this year. You know, you had asked me to come on and talk again, and I had to decline. I wasn't depressed or anything, but I had you know, coworkers with mostly with children, who daycare, school, those kinds of things. We were super short, and I was working extremely long hours. And I was like, I cannot go home and talk to another person, because by the time it's 7, I'm not that sweet anymore.
I certainly understand that. No, really.
And so I was like, so I went through a little stuff, but it was good. It was a good learning experience, and I just did it every day, and I was like, oh, okay, well, now I'm in a much better place mentally, and things have calmed down, and I've got, you know, people, and my company is supportive, and so I'm much better. So,
well, I know in the last time we talked, all we got to do was I was still learning Facebook, so I had the phone up to you know, all we could hear was your voice, and we couldn't see your beautiful face.
Thank you.
Or other things, but I won't.
Oh, you know, I remember that one time I came into the library, and
are you gonna say something that's gonna embarrass me?
I hope so, because it embarrassed the crap out of me when it happened.
Go ahead, do it.
So,
God, I hope my
came in the library, and you were kind of flirty with me, and I was like, nah, whatever. And then I was like, I think Jennifer's flirting with me. And then I started to be like nervous, and my face got all red. And you were like, and I was like, no, she wouldn't be flirting with me. And then we just started talking about things, and you just helped me get through. But I don't say that really to embarrass you. I say
my
that
face is red. Oh my God.
Because mine was like a tomato. But I'm gonna tell you what, when that happened, was when I was going through the stuff with the person, you know, cheating on me and all that stuff. And I didn't feel, because then you feel like nobody notices. You don't feel pretty. You feel like it's you. It's got to be you. It's not them. It's if I was skinnier or prettier or funnier or whatever the thing is that you're not feeling good about. So even though it embarrassed me to death, I was like, oh, well, maybe I am all that. And it was better and good. I'm glad I got you back.
Yeah.
And then you made me the queen of cleavage. And so, and that was fun. So,
well, so I do remember that. And yeah, I did. That was purposeful and that really happened. And I didn't think you noticed. And
I was like,
I got really red. I was like, why are you red? You're like, what?
oh
Because
my.
I need to explain to people. So Wynndi is a very attractive woman, and everybody around the unit, she never stepped out without looking like she came out off of a magazine cover. And especially when she came to work, her clothes were, except when you're working in the greenhouse, they were, but you still made it with your little tousled hair like you'd been out working and sweating. But for the most part, she came to work very like she came from a magazine.
I was practicing for the world.
But let me tell you, she had her tight whites fit perfectly. Like I'm wearing stuff that was like, they always tell me, quit sagging your pants. And I'm like, it's not on purpose. I don't have an ass. And it just was straight down. We had to tuck our shirts in. And so my pants would just slide down.
Oh, and those shirts are so nice to be tucking into those elastic banded pants.
But Wynndi, so TDCJ uniforms, they're like this big V-neck. Like, and so if you got one that didn't fit, which was horrible for me, is like it'd be all the way down here. And I'd be like, oh God, so you'd have to wear a clip. And it's just terrible. But Wyndi's was perfect because they set up very naturally. And so sometimes she'd come in and I'd be like,
it wasn't natural. I had on like 7 bras.
I'd say, and I did that to her one day, and she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm saluting you. And I said, the girls are standing at attention, and then you got real red in the face.
Sure.
But like everybody around the unit was like, that Wynndi Caldwell, she just walks with that shirt, and I said, she's fine, and y'all are mad about it. And so I called
That's not how I felt, though.
The queen of cleavage.
I felt terrible.
And that was true. You were the queen of cleavage, but you exuded confidence whether you realized it or not. You did.
I didn't always feel like that. No, I didn't feel that way. And I was usually looking sweaty because I was sweaty and dirty. I was in maintenance and in the greenhouse digging holes.
Wynndi, I remember this one time it was the day after New Year's. It was like the 2nd, Jennifer, the day after New Year's. And maybe it wasn't New Year's. I'm trying to think because my set-offs were usually, oh gosh, they were usually in the summer. So it had to be some type of, maybe it was a summer break. I don't really remember, but we were on break because the school was on break. And I had come out to empty the book drop and do some stuff. And then you and Miss Banks were going to the greenhouse. And I didn't really want to go back to the dorm. I was really depressed. And so I went over there with y'all. And I was just really, really depressed. And I remember sitting in there and y'all were doing stuff. And I think you could tell I was sad, and I just got another set off. And you were like, come look at the plants. I don't want to. I'm just going to sit here. And I was swiveling in the chair. You're like, come look at the plants. And you were covered in mud and you were just watering your little plants. And just that simple moment of being with you and just that positive spirit. Not that I'm a plant person and I don't like
that greenhouse. The greenhouse and the peace that I found there saved my sanity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what the library was for me. It was my place, my sanctuary.
Yep.
And I could sit in the corner, not in the window that Miss Carpenter used to spy out of, not the one by the desk, but the one in the corner where I could just kind of sit on the little, the stool that we used. And I could just sit there and I could just, during count times in the afternoon, I could just sit there and drink my contraband coffee and just stare out the window and because you could see the whole unit, and
yeah.
It was just that place of it was
okay. Yeah.
That was the greenhouse for you. And I remember being in there at that particular time when I was just feeling so sad, and just watching you be happy and joyful. And you were like, the green, it just makes you feel alive. And I was like, oh, I just wanted to be miserable. Leave me alone. I ain't got nothing else to do, and I can go to chow from here. And you were like, well, come look at the plants. And so you showed me plants, and you showed me where the raccoon, was it a raccoon that had gotten there?
Yes,
Get
little
everywhere.
fella. Pooped everywhere.
And I was like, is it going to dart out? Is it going to run out somewhere?
It did dart out, but not that day.
So yeah, I just, sometimes I tell, I mentioned to Sean, I said, there's other prison related YouTube channels, and not mine's not the biggest. I'm like, whoa, I've got 200 subscribers, and there these people have got like 10,000. And the thing is, I don't really get too caught up in that, just in the sense that, a lot of times I watch them and they're good because I support the guys, but it's too raw, and it doesn't speak to our experience. And sometimes it's too focused on the negative, and that's important.
Bad stuff.
Yeah. And that's important to highlight, because without that honest, raw discussion, we can't get things changed. But my intention and my purpose when I do things like this is to just be in fellowship, and to be able to think back to the positive, because there were so many experiences, because it was pretty much half my life, Wynndi. I mean, we're talking about 20 years of 40 years I spent incarcerated, more time with y'all than I did my own family since I was 15, so of course I had good memories, and I have memories that changed the way I see life and the way I interact, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, but a lot for the good. And I like to be able to highlight that, and to look back on those things and say, this helped me, and you were an integral part of that. So I adore you.
Thank you.
Well, we've been on here for an hour. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
I think that like you said, the raw stuff is important, so that people do understand. And I don't really talk about, if someone asks me specifically for, a question of something, there were some not good things, I can answer their questions, and I'm fine. But I think that you have to be careful focusing on those things. I remember when I went to safety before prison, not after. And one of the things that one of the counselors told me to do was, well, not me, they told everyone what it was a good idea to do is get a notebook and list all the terrible things about that place. Every bad thing. Getting up early, singing and clapping your hands, whatever. And when you go home, read it every day. And I was like, that is dangerous, because then you're training people to focus on something negative. Right. You can't do it. I mean, they'll just be back. They're just going to be back. It's going to be back. So
right, because anyway, using that as anytime I've noticed that whether it's doing peer health training or other things that you're trying to teach people to learn how to change habits, when you focus on fear-based ideas, it just doesn't work. If you can give me, okay, well, Jennifer, if you do, and trust me, I still like, if I do that, I will go to prison. Of course, it works to a certain degree, but it only works for so long, because that's what happened the first time I got out. That worked for so long. But then when I had emotional crisis and my mental health stuff was I'm having another crisis, it didn't work anymore, because that overshadowed that. But when you have a goal and you have something positive to focus on, that you have meaning, you'll go through hell and high water to get it, and keep it. So I totally, it's a huge difference between fear-based and, positive goal orientation. So, yeah. Hey, I see Rara. Hey, girl. So we've talked for an hour, and I'm talked out.
Me too. Night.
Okay. So I love you dearly, and
I love you
we'll
too.
get
Thank
together
you
again.
for inviting me.
Yes, and I'll post this on my YouTube channel as well, and anybody can look at it on my page. And I love you. I adore you, and
I love you back.
we'll stay in touch and check back in with each other.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, babe.